Three-point shooting was one of the best additions to the NBA. It has made for some amazing moments over the years. The shooting skill from the range has improved. We've seen a lot of world-class shooters. The greatest marksman in action is from Golden State. Steph is definitely the best. But who are some of the other best three-point shooters in the history of the NBA? Let's find out. Starting at number 12, Peja Stojakovic. We have to put Peja Stojakovic on the list because he was genuinely very underrated when it came to shooting from the three-point range. He became the 14th overall pick in the 1996 draft and went on to represent 5 different teams before retiring in 2011. He scored 17 points per game over the course of his career and became an NBA champion in the final year of his career, and most of those points came from the three-point range. A 40.1% is seriously good, isn't it? Well, he did average 44% or higher on 2 occasions and above 40% on at least 10 occasions.
After the second comment, that's it. Stojakovic, second tray in the first quarter.
So good. At number 11 on the list, Klay Thompson. The only reason Klay Thompson isn't in the top 10 is the fact that he missed a couple of seasons during his peak due to injuries. He's come from an injury and has been averaging 38% from the range, and that's not very special. But his career percentage is still well above 41%. There was a time when Thompson was genuinely considered to be better from the range than even Steph Curry. We don't blame anyone who thought that because of Klay's insanity. He'll be well into the top 10 by the time he retires. Don't forget, he's still only 32.
He screens for Thompson again. He fires again. He's good again. Oh my.
Making the top 10, J.J. Redick. The 11th overall pick of the 2006 NBA draft was J.J. Redick with the Orlando Magic. For us, there's no surprise that Redick is actually among the greatest shooters of all time.
Nice time to Redick. Found the right guy. Timeout, Denver.
It might be a bit of a surprise for some of you, but the fact is Redick remains one of the greatest shooters of all time, especially in this era. Initially, he spent a lot of time playing as a role player. A career of 41.4% shooting is as good as it gets, but he actually topped it all with a 47.5% playing for the Clippers in the 2015-16 season. Up next at number 9, Glenn Rice. Playing for 6 different teams, Glenn Rice was a sharpshooter who really changed the way the sport was played in the 90s. Few players shot at a better percentage in their peak than Glenn Rice, who once started going in 1991 and didn't look back for many years to follow. He shot at 38.6% from the field after his rookie year, and then went on as high as 47% in 1996 for the Hornets. But it wouldn't be until the 2001 season that he averaged less than the late 30%. While the rest of his gameplay wasn't that great, Rice remains one of the greatest shooters of all time. Then at number 8, Mike Miller. A three-point percentage of 40.7% is really good, especially when you realize that Mike Miller had 9 total seasons with at least 100 attempts, and he managed a 40-plus three-point percentage in all those 9 seasons. In comparison, only 4 players have managed more, and that includes some of the greatest scorers: Steve Nash, Kyle Korver, Steph Curry, and Reggie Miller. Unsurprisingly, all of them will make an appearance on the list a little later. He also had nearly 600 total points above average from the three-point range and helped the Heat win 2 rings in the twilight of his career.
Kaboom with a capital K. Mike Miller filling it up.
At number 7, Dale Ellis. Compared to the average points scored from the range, Dale Ellis scored 795.5 more points during the course of his career, and the fact that he averaged that much from the range in an era when scoring that much wasn't even heard of showcases how special this man truly was. Many believe that Ellis could have shot at a higher level in today's era, but when you're that far ahead of everyone else during your time, you feel you don't need to improve further. But his best year came playing for the Thunder when he scored 47.8% from the range, playing all 82 games. He scored 27.5 points per game, which showcases he had a higher gear in there somewhere. Moving on to number 6, Steve Kerr. No one in the history of the sport has a better shooting percentage from the deep than Steve Kerr. It's a shame he isn't in the top 5, but that's only because of the volume. Kerr never really shot a lot from the deep. The reason is that he played in an era when the three-point shooting was something of a luxury. It wasn't exactly a part of the way teams lined up or how Kerr lined his Warriors up. But given his numbers, we're adamant that he could have been well in the top 3 if not for the different eras.
Open 3, right side, got it! Drains it, that's huge. Dagger in the heart. Steve Kerr.
Statistics tend to take a lot of value in these valuations, so we can't help but have him at number 6. Entering the top 5, Steve Nash. A 42.8% three-point shooting puts Steve Nash in at number 5. He had 855.2 points above average from 3 compared to the rest of the league. While his three-point attempts are only 35th on the all-time list, Nash still deserves to be really high on the list because he was a demon from the range. Nash was also a great passer, but he was simply too good from the range. Considered unselfish, he definitely knew how to sink shots from the deep. If only he'd taken more shots in every campaign, he'd be in the top 3. Coming in at number 4, Reggie Miller. Only 3 players in the history of the sport have more attempts from the range than Reggie Miller, and while he connected on 39.5% of occasions, Miller still is one of the greatest shooters of all time. He scored 915.4 more points than the average from 3, and he got a lot of praise from Ray Allen, who made it to the top 3, while Miller comes in at number 4. Allen called him the best shooter he'd seen, but we think Miller was the second best after Allen. Remember the 8 points in 9 seconds? Well, it wouldn't have been possible without Miller being that good from the range. Into the top 3, Ray Allen. If you have the second most attempts in the history of the sport and you average 40% from the range, then you have to be in the top 3, at the very minimum. We can make a case of Allen being the second best, but for some reason we also have a certain Kyle Korver yet to come. Not to mention, on a list of the greatest players of all time, we might see Ray Allen a lot higher than your Kyle Korver or most of the other names on this list. The Hall of Famer was more than just a three-point shooter. He was genuinely so good from the range. Plus, most important of all, the way he shot was just textbook. The feet, elbow, the follow-through, the elevation, everything was just so consistent. We think he would have also been a great player in this era. The penultimate pick, Kyle Korver. You're a super shooter if you average over 40% from the range. If you have over 5,000 three-point attempts and your average is still over 40%, it gets even better, doesn't it? Well, Kyle Korver scored a little too consistently throughout his career. He actually had a three-point shooting percentage better than Steph Curry, and he had 5,715 attempts from the range, the 5th highest in NBA history. That's why it's not a surprise at all that Korver is second on the list and deserves to be higher than Ray Allen. He's just below Steph, but that's only because Steph has attempted 2,000 more attempts. And well, he truly is the greatest shooter ever to play the sport. Plus, Curry's also a bit of an anomaly, but we'll look into that later. Korver, though, was an outrageous shooter, and he was a potent weapon from the range for 7 different teams during his 18-year stay in the NBA. Finally, at number 1, Steph Curry. What can we say about Steph that hasn't already been said? Steph Curry is the greatest three-point shooter of all time. The reigning Finals MVP has averaged well over 40% from the range in every season he's played, apart from 2. One where he only played 5 games for the Warriors in 2019, and the 2021 campaign where he only managed 38% from the range.
Gonna try to get one up from way deep and laser it in. Of course.
But in every other season, Curry averaged at least 41.1% from the three-point range and has shot at more than 45% on more than 3 occasions. Plus, no one has ever attempted more three-pointers or scored more three-pointers than Curry. Given the fact that he scored some shots, no one else will ever even attempt to showcase that Curry is, simply put, the greatest. That's a wrap for this video. Is there any three-point shooter who should have made the list? Let us know in the comments below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this, and we'll see you in the next one.